Hey, welcome, MillRight team. Lou Cipriano here again. Hey, and I'm actually going to give you a little tour of the modifications that I've made to your MillRight Mega V plasma cutter. I really like the way it's come out. We got it down to the final assembly this morning. Me and my friend Blaze here. We've been working on it since I don't know, early January.
Yeah, just about.
So let me give you a tour of the machine. So stand by. Okay, MillRight, we're back. So I want to walk you through the mods. So Blaze, what I wanted to explain is, again, as you've seen some emails from me in the last few weeks, at least some of you, I'm building a frame open bed for the Mega V plasma cutter. So I did not order the table from you. I just bought the upper unit. And I appreciate you, again, giving me that special bid and working with me on that. And here's what we built. For the past 3 weeks, this is what Blaze and I have been working on. So Blaze, if you can zoom in here, let me first just walk you through. This piece of 3/4 pine here is just representative of the MDF that I'll eventually put at this level. It's going to sit right on top of the 1-inch frame that we built around the Mega V that I'll walk you through in just a moment. This is 1-inch tubular steel, 1-inch tubular steel, 11 gauge wall. So this is the #1 cutting height, if you will. So this will be my standard routing height, pretty much the way you sell the machine stock. In terms of, I believe you were telling me your table might be elevated a little bit more when you convert plasma to routing. In my case, I'm able to bring it right down to this, to the top of this frame. #1 cutting height, that's 80% of my use is going to be here for routing. Over here, Blaze, if you back up just a little bit, or here, just hang right there, Blaze. Here's a piece of steel. This is my plasma cutting height. This is #2, right here, Blaze. #2 cutting height would be the top of this frame. This is my 0. #2 cutting height. This is for plasma, okay? Take the MDF off. I got plasma. Water table comes right up to here. Very similar to your setup. #2 cutting height. #3 cutting height is below the frame, so 1 inch lower than #2, and this is for routing below the frame and plasma cutting at this level. So try to keep this video short. So that explains why I made these modifications. Secondarily, I made the modifications for this reason. I got an open frame. I can lift this machine up. Me and another person, we can literally pick it up, so it's around 120 pounds probably, and carry it, put it in the bed of my truck. I can go to somebody's shop and I can route into a live edge wood tabletop that they build, and it'll route a company logo, you know, so forth. They fill that with epoxy and nice product there. The other advantage of the frame is I can store the machine on my ceiling. You don't have to go there. Okay. On my ceiling, I've got eyelets here. I'll have a hoist with a chain that comes down, picks this up front and back, and I hoist it to the ceiling. It's out of my way when I'm not using it. And I now have the water table that I can throw a piece of steel on and use as a welding table. Hey folks, Lou Cipriano here with Blue Chip Consulting. And I'm here to introduce a new CNC paradigm. The open frame stored on the ceiling. Can you get a shot of the hoist system before I bring it down? Hoist system, I got a Harbor Freight 440-pound hoist here on a 4-to-1 cable reduction. Total weight here with the MDF platform is probably about 160 to 170 pounds up in the air there. This is a MillRight Mega V Router Plasma XL unit, 35 by 35 inches with a 3.5 inch Z-axis. And it's mounted to an open frame. When I lower it, I'll be removing that MDF base. It lifts off. It's going to land on this table. The table is kind of the basic CNC plasma table. It's a 4-inch deep pan with metal slats laid in it to support the steel cut. The table also doubles as my welding table when the CNC is not in use. And I can demonstrate. I have 4 sheets of 1/8 inch plate that I set on here in an overlapping fashion. To make a 1/4 inch thick welding table. When the CNC is not in use. Like so. Now, it's in the early phases of research and development, but I'll be securing these plates together with a bolt pattern, probably 4 or 6 bolt pattern here through the seam, and also with a bolt pattern on the corners. I'm also going to be cutting a grid of 1/2 inch holes for welding clamps on the table sometime soon. All this has just come together. I probably should preface. This whole system has come together in the past 2.5 months in the making, so literally today. So I'm just kind of introducing it because there were some questions from some folks about it. Some of the subsystems I have might be useful to some other people. So I wanted to get it out there in the user community. And we're going to take a look at the CNC now. Store that. I should also say that the water pan has 2 heights. It's at the low height right now. And I'll explain that in just a second. And I mentioned some of the features of the CNC. The Mega V by MillRight is an outstanding machine. It's an excellent base to do this with. And the Mega V is all the yellow and black that you see up above. Anything blue, this baby blue, is stuff I built. I'm indecisive if I'm going to paint the table yet, but built the table, the water pan, everything in here. And I'll get to the open frame. So now we're going to lower the CNC onto the table as if we were going to do some routing. It's a 4-to-1 reduction on the hoist. Everything's tracking well. I've had this up and down a couple dozen times already. Could have landed that a little bit better. Okay, so So, Jen, you might want to get a look at these location holes I have here. So once we've landed, before we unhook it from the hoist, I have location holes here, 1/2-inch bushings and 1/2-inch pins that I'll use to locate the machine to the table. I also capture the MDF to locate it as well. So I'm going to put these pins, 3-inch pins, into the MDF and capture the MDF in opposite corners. Just need 2 pins for location through that, like so. Gussets on each corner, very solid. Trusses at the top, front and rear to maintain the dimension of the gantry, front to back. Gantry's moving beautifully. We've got absolute full width wheels touching the Y plates on both sides, so we got it square, we got it plumb. And key to doing that was coming up with this spacer, piece of wood, which is the width of the gantry, and we simply spaced out front and back, clamped it, and then bolted in our strut, and it's permanent now. We did that top and bottom, so we got plumb, we did it front and back. So the holes that I wrote you about yesterday, I discovered when I was doing the final cut on these legs and getting them all to the exact same height by banding them together and attempting to grind them on my disc sander as one unit to get them all exactly the same length. And I discovered I was going to use the index holes here, these bolt holes, as my index by putting 2 drill bits in at that hole size to index that location, and then I would have a consistent length by grinding the bottom. Well, I found, as I told you, the holes different sizes. It actually worked to our advantage. We put the plates with the big holes in the front, and I had to do that because I was using one of them as my reference location. So I had to bring one from the back and bring it up to this side over here. But anyway, the big holes are in the front, the little holes are in the back. We locked in the little holes first, just like you say on your video. Do one end first, leave the other end float, and when you bolt it onto your base, then you align it. And that's exactly how we took advantage of having a little more fitment with the bigger holes in the front. And I was actually having a little trouble getting there the last couple of weeks, not knowing that they were different size holes, and I had them mismatched. So anyway, that all worked out good. What else do I want to cover? One more thing. 2 heights on this plasma cutter. In order to achieve these 3 different levels of cutting, we have a tall height, which it's in right now, and a shorter height, which when I remove this precision ground spacer that's under each leg, and it bears weight. I actually took some weight off to do this video, but it'll bear weight, and it's locked in there, and then we lock in these bolts. But we ground 4 of these to within 1/1000th of each other by taping them together, and again on the disc sander. And this dimension turns out to be about the original height of the legs that you shipped me, very close to it. But I have a pad, I don't know if you got that pad there, Blaze. I have an 1/8-inch foot, if you will, welded to the frame that it sits on, and then it just buttresses up against on the bottom of the Y rail, and that establishes the high height. The low height is established by a precision grind on the bottom of the leg, and it just sits on the foot on all 4 corners. And then we bolt it in place using 2 secure bolts here. These are not location bolts, they just secure it. The location is managed by a spacer when it's high and by the precision ground foot when it's low. And there we have 2 heights to achieve those 3 different 0 points for my cut levels. And it's been working out great. One more thing I want to explain. I wrote you a few weeks ago about taking the router mount and moving it down 3.5 inches to achieve these cut levels. That was before I decided to change the leg height. So based on your response, that's probably not a good idea to put it down here and have all that torque. So that's why this plate's longer. I don't intend to use it down here, but I'm leaving it in case I want to use this as a magnetic mount for my torch. And I had since, based on your response, I decided to go ahead and cut the legs and go with that mod. That's why it took a little longer. But I did move the router mount 1.5 inches down. So I compromised. So I think we got enough strength and structural integrity up here that, and I like having the plate here. I have it loose to show you that now I have a nice shim. I can shim front to back, top to bottom, and left to right. So I ought to be able to get my plumb on my router bit with no problem with this extended plate on the Z, and I've only dropped the router mount 1.5 inches. So anyway, I'll wrap with that and keep you posted. I'm going to complete the build. Hey folks, I'm back. A couple of things I didn't cover in the last video that I just want to cover briefly here. Didn't talk about this shelf. Blaze, can you get a shot of this shelf here? This shelf is connected to the frame. This is made out of 3/4 by 3/4 by 16 gauge steel, very stout. And as you can see, I put it here so I can mount the control box. Now the control box, I'll actually have it flipped 180 so that the clear panel is to the outside. Facing that way, EPO right here. I'll have my pause button. I'm going to add a pause button and resume button. I updated a post in the forum that I'm going to be adding a latching relay on the pause so I can drop the plasma trigger when I pause. Now, if I find that the door output or input is already programmed to do that, I'm going to use it. But from what I understood reading about the gerbil, that 1.1H, and I don't know what version's on here, you need to recompile. I think I explained that in the forum, so you guys probably saw that. But anyway, my backup plan is to use a latching relay. And a couple other things I want to mention are, so I like this. This is I'm ecstatic about this. I got the control box, it's right here. It moves with the frame, it goes to the ceiling with everything. The cables stay intact, everything. Cut some of that stuff. But anyway, I wanted to update you on some of the rest of these things. Thank you very much. Talk to you later.